Hey folks, it's your buddy Mike Messier. I thought I'd do a book review for you. Yes, a book review. Molly Shannon, the famous actress, comedic actress. Hello, Molly, Saturday Night Live. I'd put her in the legend status. I think she deserves that. And, if you look back at some of Molly Shannon's work, I think it holds up pretty well. I think her Monica Lewinsky impersonations with John Goodman as Linda Tripp is probably my favorite stuff of hers. At the time that she was a big deal, I wasn't really the biggest fan of hers. The Mary Catherine Gallagher character, it didn't do much for me. At the time, they had a lot of people. I think she was also in that era of Sherry O'Terry and Will Ferrell, and it wasn't my favorite era of Saturday Night Live, to be honest, but that's not to say that they didn't have a lot of quality people there, and she was a quality person. So this book, what's it all about, Mike? Well, hello, Molly. We kind of start off, at a pretty tragic. If you've seen any reviews of this book or any interviews, it's always brought up. When Molly was a young girl, I think she was about 9, her family was involved in a really horrible car accident. Her father was driving, and basically he had been drinking during the course of the day, was tired. He claims, she says that he claimed that he had asked, his wife to take over the car driving for the night, and somebody else. And essentially what happened is the father and Molly and one of her sisters, Mary, survived, but a cousin and Molly's mom both got killed in this car accident. Now, I don't believe that any charges were pressed against her dad. It was ruled an accident. Obviously, the guy suffered enough, as everybody did. A horrible tragedy. And the whole Molly Shannon life has kind of been through that prism, of tragedy, and feeling a bit isolated from the other kids in school because they were all celebrating Mother's Day and stuff like that. And Molly and her sister didn't have a mom anymore. And her father never remarried, although he did date some women. But even that would come under a different part of the book later on. Molly found her escape in being friendly and making friends. And she was always reaching out to people. And she was a very popular girl in school, according to her, and very academic. Even though her father is now a single father, was kind of loose in his parenting, kind of a free spirit, some might say. And also, according to her, had an unusual volatile temper that would just kind of come out in these fits and spurts. And the drinking was a part of that. And so, Molly and her sister kind of raised themselves, is what I got from this book. And I think in a lot of this book, her father, who has now passed away, is, from the outside looking in, not the greatest father in the world. Not that he claimed to be, not that she claims he was. But I think the guy was suffering. He was suffering through the guilt of this accident. He was suffering from his alcoholism. And as we are later to read in the book, or I listened to the audio version, which I do recommend, he was also suffering through a sexual identity crisis. He didn't know if he was actually gay or bisexual, and he was a guy that was suffering on many levels, and this was the person that was the caregiver, the father, the dad. And he obviously cared about his kids. He obviously loved his kids, but maybe he just wasn't the best equipped to raise them, especially alone. So like I said, Molly and her sister kind of raised each other, raised themselves. Molly did have a lot of good friends, female friends that she mentions. Interesting shadows on my face tonight. I look a little bit tired, don't I? Have I had a long day of being me? So as we progress in the book, we discover Molly's, how she gets into theater, how she gets into, acting school, New York City, Los Angeles, She did not get Saturday Night Live off the bat. She had done a lot of improv. She was doing her own one-woman show or shows. She was making collaborations with other comedic writers. She goes into all this stuff, and for me at least, once, I think for a lot of listeners, they're just kind of waiting patiently for the Saturday Night Live stuff to happen. For me, that was a little bit of, that wasn't my favorite part of the book. I mean, for me, the part of the book about her childhood and the struggles and her finding the theater world and doing her own improv shows and selling her own tickets to her improv shows, that was more interesting to me because I felt like I'm not that connected to her years on SNL. They just were not my favorite years for the show in general. Nothing against her. And to be honest, like I said, Mary Catherine Gallagher and Superstar the movie, they weren't, I don't think I've ever seen Superstar the movie. I would probably watch it now. But I like her. I like her. I don't necessarily like her SNL stuff as much as others do. But I do like that Monica Lewinsky thing. And I think her and her comedy ages very well. So I'm giving her a lot of props in this. And I did like her book. I think like a lot of people who are raised by volatile parents, there's a need there to cover up. There's a need to justify and to defend, and that's fine. But I can kind of see through that. And this guy did have a lot of issues, and I feel bad for the young Molly, but she's a tough person. She's survived, and she's had a great life and a great career. And so now she's doing well. So I did like the audiobook. I think that one thing about it that I liked, I always like audiobooks. They have so much more credence for me when the author of the book reads their own book, especially when it's a celebrity. I mean, there's no dick in the ass worse than getting an audiobook and then listening to it, and it's a celebrity's autobiography, and they read like the introduction, and then some other shabazz takes over the reading. And she doesn't do that. She's with us the whole time. I think she has a great reading voice. She is very theatrical. If you ever hung out with, theater people, you'll know what I'm talking about. She really emphasizes almost every word, every sentence, has got so much enthusiasm from her. Very performery, if that's a word, performery. But I enjoyed her book, Hello, Molly, the pain, the persistence, the passion. I mean, maybe that should be the title of the fucking book. Maybe that's the title of my book, The Pain, the Persistence, the Passion of Mike Messier. But Molly Shannon, my hat's off to you. If I was wearing a hat, my finger to my forehead to you. Of course, you know that I am a well-established author myself. I know all you fucking assholes have bought my book, A Distance from Avalon, When the Dying and the Dead Reunite. Such a wonderful book. Have you bought your copy? Have you read your fucking copy? So that's your assignment, kind audience. You can upper right click. You can go to MikeMessier.com. You can do all these wonderful things. But as far as the Molly Shannon book, out of 5 stars, I give it 4. I think, I don't know if there's a terrible amount of life lessons that I can apply to myself, except the persistence thing, overcoming weird situations, forgiveness. The Catholic guilt stuff is interesting. But I think that coming out of this book experience, I do have more, I don't know if the word is love, but respect for Molly Shannon, more admiration. And I say, good job, Molly, you did well.